Welcome back to Rick and Elaine Discuss the
Oh,
Bible and in particular the book of Job. Good afternoon, Elaine Ray Clark. How are you?
I'm fine, very much. I'm fine, thank you very much. Yeah, I think we'll have to find a different way of introducing ourselves. I just have to
Okay.
say, you all right, Rick? How you doing?
Hey,
How you doing, mate?
here's what we do over here. We'll say, "How y'all doing?
How y'all doing?
How y'all doing?"
It's like, how you doing? How
Yeah.
you
Now,
doing?
now, Joey from Friends. How you doing? How you doing?
That's what I'm gonna have to go with. How you doing? Exactly. No, I'm fine here. Yeah, it's a bit hazy today, but the sun's out. It's nice and warm. So yeah, raring to go. Loving sort of chapter 25, and can't wait to see what's brought out where the Lord may
Yeah.
lead us.
Ready and cracking to go, they say.
Ready or not, here I come. You can't hide.
Yes. Great. All right. So let's see here. Let me find these comments. So we got a couple of comments, which I sent to you and you read them last
Yes,
night.
lovely
But
long comments. I mean,
yeah,
I would have been sort of like tired halfway through
I
and been a bit morose.
know. Well, it's the only way they can comment, right?
No, it shows you
So
that they're yeah. What it shows you that they're quite sort of their eyes must be perfect or something because I can't.
yeah.
I send voice notes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, and I'll say this to those who leave comments. If I don't respond to you on Patreon, it's usually because we're going to respond here, but also because my time has been limited as well. And so when I actually do get some time, I sit down, I have dinner with my wife, and then it's off to bed because we got another
It
day the
is,
next
yeah,
day.
yeah.
So,
I mean, it's the
um,
ridiculous, sublime to the ridiculous because I've got reams of it and you haven't hardly got any.
yeah, very, very little, very little. All right. This comes from Dina Thompson. Dina.
Dina.
Yes. Another great time of learning and searching with my brother and sister. This one had my head going all over the place in the word. Yeah, I know that feeling.
Wonderful.
We do
Doesn't it
too.
just, it goes, it's like a little file effect. It's like
Yep,
you pick out scriptures and you
absolutely.
can see it.
Yeah. When talking about how the wicked just take and take, all I could think about was, but Jeshurun grew fat and kicked. So I went and looked it up and read the whole verse, and it finishes with, Then he forsook God who made him and scorned the rock of his salvation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is still relevant to what we see in life today. Yes, it is. Oh, but then Jesus, my
Yes.
King, he addresses
Always a
the
but.
yes, the but yes. He addresses the oppression with the Beatitudes, with his rebuke to the church leaders with or the synagogue leaders or the temple leaders of their time, with his instruction to follow him. And the whole time we're reading Job's response, I hear Jesus. Yep.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
My sorry. I hear Jesus. I hear him say, Blessed are you when they mock you for my name's sake. I will never leave you or forsake you. I just hear him and cannot thank him enough. Yes, thank you,
Amen.
Lord Jesus. Thank you both. And I have much love for you, my brother and sister. And Elaine, one
Oh,
could never tire of hearing your beautiful voice. Read on, sister.
oh, bless your little heart. Well, I read that to my husband and he chuckled and said she must be tone deaf. He can't shut me up. So, I
Well, you
mean,
also told your husband what I said, that the cheese has slid off your cracker, and he
it,
agreed, but then he threatened to whip me.
he did. I said, I'm going to punch his lights out. But no, he's probably right, actually. I am a little bit like a sandwich short of a picnic. But that's okay.
Yeah, if nobody knows what
It
that's
works for
about,
me, Rick.
that was from our other study on Matthew chapter 27, where we were talking about that.
Yeah, it
Um,
works for me.
yeah, so here we go. Here it comes from Alan Thompson. Hey, Alan.
Hey, Alan.
Rick, thanks for the follow-up response you posted last week concerning the sound of the Psalms on Job's lips. It was a fantastic piece and much appreciated. Well, thank you. I feel like I didn't do it justice. There was a whole lot more to it. We just did the best we could.
We did. But then again, see, I mean, you could spend hours and hours and hours and hours just on one verse.
Yeah, and that's why I welcome the comments. I don't mind to change directions if we have some thoughts, because let's do it. I mean, that's what this is for. That's why we're
I
doing
mean,
this.
we ask the Holy Spirit to lead us, and if we get just one or two verses done, but it takes us off down a maze of beauty, what's the problem?
That's right. Yeah. Rick and Elaine, thanks for talking through it on the episode today because I found the discussion even more helpful and fascinating.
Bless.
As you
Take it
both
to
were
me.
talking, yes, thank you, Alan. As you both were talking through it, John 21:25 came to mind, where John says basically that the world couldn't hold all the books that could be written to document all the works of Jesus.
No,
Isn't that amazing?
no.
Think of all the books that have already been done and it's still they don't hold a candle, right?
I mean, you imagine being there and just seeing him, when he says the crowd were amazed at his teaching. I mean, you just look at him thinking, I've never seen or heard anybody like you. And you would, a bit like them in the boat when he said, be muzzled, you know.
Yes.
And they said, what kind, they forgot the storm and the waves. It's like, what kind of man is this?
Yeah, what manner of man? I like that in KJV. What
Yeah,
manner of man is
yeah.
this? Yeah, that's amazing. So true. He says, I applied that thought to this discussion and agree that they knew a lot more than we have a record of. The beautiful thing
Amen.
about it to me is that all the human authors of the Old Testament have the same author on their minds and in their pens to write a unified account of God's work of redemption.
Mm,
This episode was a gold mine, as usual, and the idea
bless.
of this book being how to be a priest is pure
Yeah,
genius and challenging, since we are a kingdom of priests. That's it.
absolutely.
Dina and I love you both and thank God for the excellent work you both are doing. And
And
we
we
love
love you
you
too.
guys both.
Absolutely.
And not
Absolutely.
not to overly clarify, but I said how to become a high priest, and I wanted to make that clear. Yes, it is a priest, but I'm looking at it from the high priest perspective, something that Christ will embody and become in both physical and spiritual. He will embody the high priest, and as we
Hmm.
know, he was treated worse than Job. He was treated far worse, and so and how Jesus responds to that, and then what he does and accomplishes in his resurrection and ascension as well as his parousia, high priest of all high priests
Forever, according
forever.
to the order of Melchizedek. And that's the thing, isn't it? The high priest was only ever replaced when he died. But as Christ lives always, he's always there to
There,
intercede.
never to replace, never to be
No,
replaced.
no, no. Just gonna, yeah, just gonna
Yeah.
put my just it got itchy foot there. Was a bit of a mosquito on my leg.
Oh, okay, good. I thought you were going to say you popped your clogs, but that's not what that is. That's death.
Oh no,
So
no clog popping going on this day.
that's awesome. All right. My hat today is brought to you by the Greenville Drive. I had a really dear friend of mine take me to a baseball game to get away from the world and just enjoy a
Put
relaxing
your head down a
afternoon.
bit. Let's have a look.
Yep, it just says drive.
Uh-huh.
Down, so I'm a Red Sox fan, and the Greenville Drive are a feeder organization to the Red Sox. They have it's two steps below the majors, and so we got to go there, and I had some ice cream and a little plastic baseball cap, which I normally don't eat ice cream, but I
Oh,
did enjoyed it.
oh, bless.
I had a hot dog at the park. It was
I'll
great.
tell you what, you're an all-American boy.
I'm an all-American boy, and
Ice cream
baseball
and
is
hot
America's
dog.
pastime. And I appreciated my friends taking me and getting me out of work and out of home and just going out and enjoying a nice evening. It was a beautiful day. The Greenville Drive lost, but I don't follow them, so it's not like I cared. I just enjoyed watching some people play baseball.
I think the thing is, it's just getting out there and enjoying life, isn't it? It doesn't matter who wins or loses. At the end of the day, it's just enjoying yourself.
Honestly, my favorite part, we were sitting, so Fenway Park in Boston has a thing called the Green Monster, and it's this really giant.
Is this the Field of Dreams sort of thing? Is it?
No, no, not at
Oh,
all. Field of
they were
Dreams is
Red
a Kevin
Sox, aren't
Costner
they?
movie. Huh?
That was the Red Sox, though, wasn't it?
No, it was the White Sox.
Oh,
It was the Chicago, actually, it was the Black Sox, if you think about it, because it's Shoeless Joe Jackson. He was in a scandal with the Chicago White Sox, and they called him the Black Sox. That's
but
how he
was
was.
he though? I mean, they
He,
say to make out. Anyway, they were digressing.
anyway, the point is, I was saying at Fenway Park, they have a thing called the Green Monster, which is just really high wall that's green, and you can sit up there, and people, it's just a thing. And here at the Greenville Drive, they have a mini monster, and my friend had gotten a table up there, and so we were sitting, and I could look over to the right, and there was a section that was covered by nets where children could play in the grass. And occasionally a ball player who had a ball that had been hit foul or something would throw it over the nets to the kids, and the kids would just swarm, and there was this one kid that just
Get
kept.
trampled on and die.
Yeah, there was one kid that had a glove, and he would catch the ball and then he would throw it to somebody else. The other, he was such a good kid. It
Oh,
was
that's
so sweet.
sweet.
Yeah, so it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that, and it was just nice to get away for a minute. And that's something that I've also started walking a lot more, and I enjoy that too. So I'm just trying to find ways to ease the stress
I
and
love
relax.
walking.
Walking is a great way to
It
relax yourself.
is. I
It
mean,
really
God
is.
didn't put wheels on the bottom of your ankles, did he? He put feet. It's good to walk.
Yeah, he didn't put feet on my butt either. And so I can't just keep planting my butt in the recliner. I need to get up and get moving. All right,
Yeah.
so let's get into this. Okay, so last week we were in Job chapter 24, and I had said that 23 and 24, 23 especially, I focused on it because I wanted to say he's not addressing Eliphaz uniquely or, person to person. He doesn't even acknowledge what he had said with those, wicked false accusations that he had made against him. So, Job goes on this point of showing that how wickedness actually works. And then in chapter 24 I said that he still wasn't just addressing Eliphaz, he's more addressing the group. He All of these arguments are about to come to an end. We're in the third cycle of arguments, and this is where it's going to close. And so we already know that he shut down Zophar. That happened, and he did that verse by verse. He shuts down Eliphaz by not directly dealing with him and going over the entirety of wickedness and what they know to be reality. And so he shuts Eliphaz down. And so now Bildad the Shuhite is going to speak. And I told you guys to read that chapter and to notice how short it was. And this is part of that writing from that ancient time, the way that they do this. Now that these are shorter responses, it's showing you, like Elaine said, that they're closing down, they're getting smaller and smaller, and Job's getting bigger and bigger. And that's exactly what it
And
looks like.
this is what we were talking about. Yeah, there's the split.
Mm-hmm.
There's the
Yes.
chasm. There's the
Mm-hmm.
rift opening up. They're
That's right.
separating. It's
Yes.
altering. It's changing. They're going in different directions.
Yes, exactly. And so the author has honed in this argument. He's going to call it when we get to chapter 27. He's going to say, and Job again speaks from his discourse, basically. It's a discourse. It's a discourse. This is what's going on. So if you would, Elaine, go ahead and let's read what Bildad has to say. Remember everything that Job's already said, everything that Zophar has said and Eliphaz has said and Job. It sets up this moment for Bildad. And here's a chance for Bildad to absolutely shine and show you how wise he actually is.
Right.
Job,
I'm reading from the Complete Jewish Bible here.
yes,
So if there's
Job
anything
chapter
different,
25.
then just bring it out, Rick.
Sure.
It says, dominion and fear belong to him. He makes peace in his high places. Can his armies be numbered? On whom does his light not shine? How then can humans be righteous with God? How can those born of women be clean? Why, before him, even the moon lacks brightness, and the stars themselves are not pure. How much less a human who is merely a maggot, a mortal who is only a worm?
Okay. All right. So, Elaine, I would like to hear from you, your opinion. Okay. I never send you any of my notes. I
No.
didn't send you any of my notes on this. I just want to hear your opinion. What do
Yeah.
you think Bildad is actually doing right here?
What do I think Bildad is
Yeah.
doing?
What is Bildad doing? Like what would you say that in response to Job, how are these short, what is it, 8 verses? What is Bildad actually saying here? Is he doing anything of any value?
It seems to me that he's starting to ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
He's responding to him slightly differently, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
There's a different sort of attitude coming out here, unless you can see something different. I mean, obviously, he's talking about the moon. Can anyone born of a woman be clean? And then he goes to talk about a maggot and a worm. Well, I know what a maggot is, and I know what the worm is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think he's introducing something sort of a bit different. I mean, I don't know what you're thinking here. I mean, how you're connecting chapter 26 with it.
Yeah, I don't think that Bildad said anything technically wrong, actually. I think if you listen to what he says, he's using his theological viewpoint and he's talking in generalities about God, and all of his statements are true, none of which answer Job. None of anything that he says answers Job, Eliphaz, or Zophar in any of this.
So you
Okay?
think that's just statements?
Yeah, so let's just go through them one by one. Listen, I'll read it in the ESV. Bildad the Shuhite answered and said, "Dominion and fear are with God. He makes peace in high heaven. Is there any number to his armies? Upon whom does his light not arise?" These are all true statements. This
Yes.
is this is what God is. His dominion and fear are with him. Yes. He makes peace high in heaven. Yes. Is there any number to his armies? We don't know, but no, probably not. Upon whom does his light not arise? Yeah, good point, Bildad. How then can man be in the right before God? Boom. Okay, that's a good point. How can man be right before God? All right, but here's where it gets interesting. They've been accusing Job because of Job's situation. That's why they're able to do this. Their worldview is because you're in this, we know you've done wrong. But we also have said this a million times in the study. We know that's not true. So when Bildad said, "How can a man be right before God?" That's a fair statement because none of us are right before him. None of us are.
And this is what I'm saying. This is why when I read this, I don't see anything accusatory towards Job. I
Only
just
in the fact that Job is just as wicked as everybody else is basically
it,
what he's saying.
exactly, but it's not as bitter. It's not as cutting
Yeah,
as
that's because
as before.
that's right. It's because the argument's broken down. Bildad doesn't
And
know
yeah,
where to go.
right, but in that breaking down of an argument,
Uh-huh.
sometimes reason starts to become more clear.
Yeah, sure. That's what he says. How then can man be in the right before God? How can he who is born of woman be pure? He can't be. We know
No.
this. He can't be. All right. Behold, even the moon is not bright and the stars are not pure in his eyes. I mean, how do we know that? But Bildad can say that because God made those things and God is the light. So therefore, he is the brightest. And so that's a fair statement. There's nothing wrong with what Bildad is saying. There is something missing here, and I'm going to point it out at the end. How much less man who is a maggot and the son of man who is a worm? Okay. You see these words in the prophets all the time. I am a worm and no man, things like that. So he's saying that, where do worms reside? Down in the dirt. Worms reside down in the dirt. Sometimes say inchworms are up in trees or whatever, but mainly the worms that we're talking about are down inside the dirt, which is where human beings usually are buried. That's what happens, right? Or if you burn, you're reduced to ashes and you're blown in the wind, whatever. But he's saying that man is, how much less man who is a maggot. So, in other words, if the moon is not even bright and the stars are not pure and God, then how much more so is man? So there's this measuring. Okay, there's a measurement that he's setting. All right, all well and good, Bildad. But tell me, how in the world did that answer Job? How did it answer Job? Remember what Job said at the end? Prove me a liar. That's all he said. Prove me a liar. Bildad starts speaking in generalities from his worldview, and he starts stating the things that are actually true. He's actually stating the things that are true about God without compassion. There's no compassion. Notice that. He's just speaking in generalities because his argument has been defeated. Eliphaz has been defeated, and so has Zophar. Job's discourse so far has leveled these men to where they have nothing more to say. There's nothing more to say to him. So now Job is getting ready to turn this into something no one had ever seen before. No one's ever seen what Job's about to do. Go ahead.
Right. Can I just speak here as well about these worms? Now, if you look up these maggot and worms, one is when it talks about in verse 6, how much less man is a worm. Now, if you look at the Hebrew, there's two different words, just a bit like when they say the temple. It can be the naos or the hieron, but they use the same word.
Maggot or
it's
worm.
The same here. Now he's asked, or how can he be clean that is born of a woman? Now, how can he be clean who is born of a woman? Well, at that particular time, they didn't know that. They had no idea. But of course, now in our day and age, we know how we can be clean.
Yeah, because the one who was born of a woman under the law, Jesus Christ, makes us clean.
Right. So therefore, this is the question he's asking. And then it goes on to say, how much less man a worm? Now, this is the word. I did a talk about 8-9 years ago in a church, and I gave a talk about the tola worm. Now, there's two types of worms. One is rimmer and one is tola. A rimmer is an ordinary worm that reproduces quite rapidly, like a maggot.
Okay.
But another one is a tola worm. And it's interesting that it uses the tola for worm in the last part because it says, and the son of man, which is a worm. Now we go to Psalms 22, and it talks about Jesus being a worm, but it is the same worm that we find here indicating, and the Son of Man is a worm. Now, if you go to the tola worm, do you remember Lydia in Acts 16? Now, she was a seller of purple.
Yes.
Now, they are dried worms you crush to get the crimson dye. They're called the crimson worm. Now, this tola worm here, where it talks about the Son of Man, which we know is Christ, he's already talked about how much less man. Well, he's just talking in general here about men. Well, men can't do anything. Right. The Son of Man, who is the tola worm, the crimson worm can. And it's interesting. If you look up about the crimson worm, it's a little tiny thing. It's about 7 centimeters long, something like that. And or millimeter, whatever it is. And it's got little legs, and it climbs up when it's about to give birth. It climbs up the kermes tree. And it's a very, very prickly tree. And again, it takes me back to when the ram was caught in the thicket. It said was caught in the thicket. Well, this worm climbs up this tree and it sticks itself to this tree when it's going to give birth to its children. And it gives birth to its children. And for 3 days, the children feed on the mother. So the mother dies. But interestingly, at the end of it, she gives a crimson dye. It comes out of her body, and she coats her children in this crimson dye, so that when she falls off, the children become crimson forever. 3 days it's stuck there, and they become crimson, covered with her dye, with what she fed on. And then 3 days after that, what happens is that the tola worm, it sucks its tail up into its head, and it makes a little heart shape. But then it turns a waxy, pure white. And it's like Isaiah says, though our sins are like scarlet, and they will be sort of like washed away, and they will become as white as the driven snow. So here, for me, he's saying, without even knowing it, is differentiating between man, who is a maggot, he reproduces, can't do anything, and this tola worm, this crimson worm. And it's interesting that Lydia, she made clothes, crimson clothes, out of this dye. And it's royalty. It's so expensive that only royalty, and this is why royalty wears it. And it takes you back to Herod. What did he do? He said he must have a cloak if he's a king. Let's put a cloak on. And it was a crimson scarlet cloak that they put round this worm.
Good. Wow.
This, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know what? I mean, please, everybody, go and look it up. And again, see, it just shows you, Rick. I gave this talk about 8-9 years ago, and there were people with tears in their eyes. It was about a 40-minute talk. I sort of elaborated more on it. It's really interesting. And I just thought, my gosh, it is so amazing, the movement when you talk about these things in people. Then they go and look it up, and then they're amazed. Go, and I suggest that you go and look up on YouTube. There are talks on the crimson worm. Go and look up on YouTube, the crimson worm, and you'll get a talk up there, and it is amazing. And there's not a dry eye at the end of it. Even sort of like pastors that are talking about it are talking, just moved so much by it. But yeah, it is. She dies. She kills herself so that she can cover her children with this crimson dye, so that they go away all the time. They feed on her for 3 days. The mother, they eat her. They eat of her. And then this crimson dye coats them, and they are crimson worms forever. And it's just beautiful. And then the crimson worm sucks its back tail up inside, so it becomes like this little tiny heart shape. And this is the heart of Christ. And your sins become like the driven snow, because it becomes a pure white thing when it dies. And that's after 3 days. So honestly, but this is what I'm saying. This is what I can see. Then how can a man be justified with God? Then how can he? How can anyone be clean of a woman? The Son of Man, which is a worm.
Right.
That's how you become clean, and that's how it happens. And all this is being written and they don't even know what they're
That
actually saying.
they don't even know it's right there for them. And that is a brilliant thing to talk about with that worm. I appreciate you sharing that. And I think everybody, if I can remember, I'll try to put a link to a couple of the videos that she's talking about on YouTube. I'll try to find them and put them there for you so you can look. But wow, what a fascinating topic. And maybe we can do another show just about the total worm. If it's 40
Oh,
minutes long, you
that
could talk about that.
exactly. And then people can comment because we've given the heads up already about it. But
Yeah.
honestly, Rick, it just, you, at the end of it, I think if you have got no tears in your eyes or tears aren't rolling down your cheek, you haven't got it.
Right. Yeah,
You
that's
haven't got it.
well, I just want
And
you to know I've heard of that worm, but I've never heard it described in this fashion.
oh, it's amazing. And the way it's the tree that it climbs up, you find it elsewhere, but it's in Palestine. And it's a tree that's got like thorns on it, and it climbs up between your thorns. And it just makes me think of like when Christ was caught, or the ram was caught in the thicket when Isaac Abraham was going to give up Isaac. And he said, God will provide himself a sacrifice,
Yes,
so
he will.
himself is the sacrifice.
Yes.
And it's
Yes.
all being written down there. Uh, the moon isn't pure, the stars aren't, and yet the Son of Man is, because he's the tola worm. And this
Right.
little tiny
Wow.
insignificant thing that nobody gives any credibility or credence to, this is what God used to signify who his son was.
Hmm.
Oh, I mean,
Wow.
nothing is insignificant.
Hmm.
Nothing. It's just
Yes.
amazing the way that these things work out and how God has planned. This is what I'm saying. This is why I find it such a love story. God is so deep. He's planned every single thing around his son. And like we said yesterday, this moment in time when Christ on the cross said, it is finished, paid in
Yes.
full,
Paid in full.
finished, paid in full, and
Yes.
that was it. And through his shed blood, we are all washed clean in it. We are
Yes.
covered in him. Wonderful. And we are pure as the driven snow.
Yeah.
Oh, and the
Praise his
heart
name.
shape. Oh,
Amen. Very
yeah.
good. All right. So here's how before we get into chapter number 26, this is where we are. Okay. So Bildad definitely has theology, but it's basically without oxygen. It's airless. It's empty because he knows dominion, he knows fear, he knows heaven, he knows purity, he knows stars and holiness, but he doesn't know what to do with this man sitting in the ashes.
No.
That's the reality. He doesn't know what to do with this man that's in the ashes. None of them do. And so there's only one who actually knows what to do with this man in the ashes, and that's going to be God himself. But Job is working through now. Remember, he's being pressed. Now Job's going to open his mouth and he's going to start talking. And I want to give you a little bit of a heads up, because if you've already read ahead, by the time you get to chapter 27, it almost starts to sound like he's in agreement with his friends. It does sound like that in a way, but you've got to get what's going on here in 26 in order to understand 27. Remember, these build on each other. He's not just in agreement. He agrees to a point, but he's going to show them the difference, how he's seeing this wickedness and what ultimately comes. So if you would, Elaine, do you mind reading chapter 26?
Right. Do you want me to read it from the complete or the King James?
Yeah, go from the complete. That sounds great.
Right. It says, what great help you bring to the powerless. What deliverance to the arm without strength. Such wonderful advice for a man lacking wisdom. So much common sense you've expressed. Who helped you to say these words? Whose spirit is it coming forth from you? The ghosts of the dead tremble beneath the water with its creatures. Sheol is naked before him. Abaddon lies uncovered. He stretches the north over chaos. He suspends the earth on nothing. He binds up the water in his thick clouds, yet no cloud is torn apart by it. He shuts off the view of his throne by spreading his cloud across it. He fixed a circle on the surface of the water, defining the boundary between light and dark. The pillars of heaven tremble, aghast at his rebuke. He stirs up the sea with his power, and by his skill he strikes down Rahab. With his spirit he spreads the heavens. His hand pierces the fleeing serpent. And these are but the fringes of his ways. how faint the echo we hear of him, but who is able to grasp the meaning of his thundering power?
Hmm. All right. So he actually addresses Bildad. So remember, I said that he wasn't really addressing Eliphaz, he's addressing the group. But in this case, he's addressing Bildad, but I think it's meant for the whole group too. All right. He starts off being sarcastic, actually.
He
That's
does, yes, because I've written down here sarcasm. Because imagine, oh yeah, what great help you bring to the situation.
yeah.
Yeah,
Good
the
job,
thousands.
guys. What a great help.
Else,
Here I am. Nothing's changed.
yeah,
All of these words,
yeah, blah
right?
blah 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 blah.
Yeah. Um, and Bildad, you were, if anything, you were short and you were abstract and emotionally cold. Like that's what you are.
Beauty. Yeah.
Is that safe? Basically, he's utterly helpless. Bildad does nothing for him. Basically, this is a pastoral failure he's mentioning. All right. What is it? How have you helped him who has no power? How have you saved the arm that has no strength? That's the sarcasm. Wow.
Yeah. That's
Incredible.
amazing.
Look at
Thank
all
you
the
for that
help you've given
insight.
to a weak and suffering man, guys. Look what you've
That's it.
done. That's
Yeah, well
basically
done.
that's what he's saying, right?
Yeah,
He's
sorted. I'm happy now.
yeah, I mean, you would think that Job in his stature in his life that the friends that would have come to him would have been the ones to bring him wisdom and patience and compassion and gentleness. But no,
Mm.
his
See,
friends do not contain this.
no, but I think the scene was already set that they thought that he was going to respond in a certain way. But when Job didn't, it was almost like, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't quite how we sort of saw it going here. The man
Yeah.
isn't responding to our wisdom, our wise words, the way we
Hmm.
see it. And they
Right.
start to, again, these sorts of things that they're commenting on now. Job is, like you say, sarcasm. Oh, what other things are you going to tell me? I've got a bit of time going on here. Hurry up,
Yes.
hurry up.
Yes, exactly. So what in essence, and we'll go through more of this chapter as we go here, but I just wanted to say this as an outline. The reason why I wanted you to stop at 27, because when Job gets into 28, he's going to define wisdom for you. That's really what's going to happen. So he's showing them, even in his sarcasm, this isn't wisdom. This isn't wisdom. You've got generalities. You're looking at reality in a wrong way. You're not being honest and truthful with
Well, tell
yourself.
me something I don't know.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And he's about to, and he's going to get into that. He is going to start showing what you would think is agreement with them, but he's actually pushing it even more forward. And so when he gets to chapter 28, that's when he's going to start defining this wisdom. Now,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot going on, and we're
There
only
is.
in, we've got to go, we got a long way to go here. There's several chapters. We've still got Elihu to deal with. We've got God who's going to be speaking. So I don't want to get too far ahead, but I just want to say that this is why I said it's how to become a high priest. You have to go through this, and the only way that we are going to understand what Joe means is if we actually have compassion on him, if we actually get in the dust with him, if we listen to the words of his mouth, the things that he says, right? He says, "How have you counseled him who has no wisdom and plentifully declared sound knowledge?" Again, wow, what brilliant counsel you've brought, right? Um, what's the next verse here? Verse 4. With whose help have you uttered words and whose breath has come out from you? I think yours said spirit, didn't it?
Yeah,
Verse
whose
4.
spirit is it coming forth from you? You
Yeah,
know, where's that come from?
right.
I mean, who's the source?
I looked at it a couple of different ways. I either think that one, Job is kind of like still mocking him, or he's exposing something that's been borrowed. It's been taken from
It's
somewhere else.
well, I think again, it's who's the source?
Right. Who is the source?
Who's the source? Is it you? Is it
Yeah.
God? Where did
Right.
you get this from? Where's your source?
Yeah. So who fed you these particular phrases, Bildad? Who fed you that? Right? Who gave you that? This stock wisdom, whatever this is that you're repeating. Because
Well, it's
like I
not really wisdom; it's just knowledge. Because if he had wisdom, he would understand that the knowledge is to be applied properly.
you got it. It's not wisdom, it's knowledge. There's a big difference.
There is.
Big difference. Good job. All right. Verse 5, the dead tremble under the waters and their inhabitants. That was interesting to me because now Job is shifting. He's already like, I think he was dealing with Bildad, probably possibly mocking him, but also pointing out, you're repeating this information from somewhere. That's why this is like stock wisdom for you, but it's actually knowledge. And now he's going to say the dead. What is yours? The complete Jewish in verse 5. How does it say it?
It says the ghosts of the dead tremble,
Okay.
or you can have the spirits of the dead tremble.
Yeah, in the ESV it says the dead, but when you look at the underlying Hebrew points, it's like the shades of the departed ones or the departed ones.
Yeah,
Um,
in the King James, it says, "Dead things are formed from under the waters,
yes,
with the inhabitants thereof."
right. So this word popped up, and I'm sorry that I didn't do a full study on it, and I need to. Okay, I might even go and look it up right quick. But the word that's being used here for the dead or for the ghosts is Rephaim, 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 a shadowy term used in the Old Testament for the dead or ghost-like underworld inhabitants. So Job doesn't start with the stars above, which is where Bildad was. He goes with the spirits below. See, he's taking you down into the depths here. All right, so which to me is fascinating. He went the opposite direction, right? So I think that what Job is going to show us is that God is over even the deepest shadowy realm. He's over all of it, right? They remember he talked about a worm. Remember how Bildad said the worm? Well, if you think about the worm, it's in the dirt. He's saying no, it goes into the spirit even below. Like God's going to see all of it. And if you remember earlier in one of the chapters, he said, "I'm going to the north and I'm going to the south and the west and the east. I cannot find him, but does he? But he, I know he sees me." Job understands that God does see him, but he sees all things. He's so immense, and Job's going to pick up on this later in chapter 27. All right, so under the waters, guys, by this point, you probably already know this. It represents chaos, death, the unknown, the abyss, the threatening, untamed realm beneath the ordered life. That's the idea here. All right, that's where this is. It's like almost like the cosmology of the ancient world. If you've ever seen these things, the cosmology, you have like this dome and you've got the heavens above and the waters beneath, you've got this space and you've got the land, and then underneath you've got the subterranean, and then you've got the spirit. It's kind of like that ancient cosmological view. It seems like that's what he's showing. Deep waters, underworld beneath. It's the shadowy places, right? But listen to what he says in verse 6. Read that again.
Sheol is naked before him. Abaddon lies uncovered.
Oh, wow. Right? Wow. So Abaddon, that was interesting, but Sheol. All right. So I'm going to look up something real quick because I want to know myself. I got to know. All right. So Sheol is naked before God. So that's interesting. That means it's unclothed. That means he can see it exactly
Well, again,
as
the
it
grave
is.
is, it's talked about the ghosts of the dead tremble. I mean, again, in what condition are these to God? Sheol is
Yes.
naked before him. It's exposed.
Yes.
It doesn't hide anything. It might hide dead people, dust people, but what is that to me as God?
Right.
We've already
Right.
spoken about the worm. How much we've already just spoken about
Mhm.
the worm there and the Son of Man, which is a worm. So I mean, it's following on. It's all hidden in there. Redemption is all hidden in there. It's
Yes.
hidden in there totally. Sheol is Abaddon means a destruction. So destruction lies uncovered.
Very
No,
good.
yeah,
Yes, destruction. Very good. The place of
yeah.
ruin, destruction, or what lies beyond human reach. Okay, it
Mm.
says that um, in Psalm 88:11, it says, "Is your steadfast love declared in the grave, or your faithfulness in Abaddon?" This word Abaddon showing destruction or the unseen ruin of death or a
Yeah.
domain of destruction. The place where things are swallowed up. You might be able to think of like the sons of Korah, how they're swallowed up, right? That destruction of those.
Mhm.
In Revelation 9:11, they have as
Exactly. I was going to bring that up.
good. They have as king over them the angel of the bottomless pit. His name in Hebrew is Abaddon, and in
Exactly.
Greek his name is Apollyon, and
That's right.
it means destroyer,
Yes,
destruction, destroyer.
it
Um,
does.
that's right. And so in the Old Testament, Abaddon is more like a realm or a condition of destruction. In Revelation, the destructive force is personified into a king or an angel over the abyss. Okay? This is really wild. It's an angel of judgment. It's a
It is.
messenger of
It
judgment.
is. Yeah. Because again, he talks about the same thing, the abyss. It's
Mhm.
the abyss, the angel of the abyss. Yeah, it just is there. It's this angel of death. It's
It
this,
is. That's
and
right.
we know who the angel of death is, really.
Right.
I mean, who
The
cares
one that
about the
visited
need
the
for death?
Egyptians' firstborn sons. Right?
Well,
Okay. Yeah.
exactly. Again, it talks about this. He was given the key to the abyss,
But
leading
but
down.
but again, the whole point of this is Job is saying God knows that. That's
Exactly.
that's the point that he's saying is like, look, I received God is sovereign. I'm saying it with my mouth. He's over all of it. And
Yeah.
Job's going to get personal here in a little bit. He will. He's going to get personal about this in chapter 27, but he's taking their worldview and he's actually opening it up even further. Okay. He's saying, yeah, there are things that you're saying in generalities that are true. There are things about wickedness that you're saying true. Let me show you how far this goes. You really need to know who this God is. It's not so cut and dry as you guys like to put it. There's
And
no hidden realm where God's
no,
sight fails. That's the point.
exactly. And
No
I and
hidden
I
realm
just
where
see,
God's sight fails.
no, there isn't. I mean, let's face it, he's the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last, the beginning and the end. He knows everything. He created everything. He brought everything forth. Without him, nothing lives. It just expires.
Right, and that's
And
beautiful. I'm glad you said it that way, but this is what I needed to understand and what I believe I hope that you all as our listeners understand is that what Job is saying is actually true. That means that in every single circumstance of your life, God is absolutely aware. Sometimes we say it with our mouth, but we don't actually believe that. Like I had somebody, I think Alan had asked me, do you think God actually brought the storm of Helene? And my answer was yes.
the storm
And
of what?
the storm of Hurricane Helene when it came.
Oh,
Do you
sorry.
think it's
Yes.
right? He had said, do you think this is just weather or do you think like where do we stand now? And I said, yes. This did not take God by surprise. This is something God is at the end as he is in the beginning. So I'm one of those weird people that believe that God brings the weather because I believe that he knows it. If he didn't want it to rain on that day, God could have stopped it, but he didn't. There's a
Exactly.
purpose in it. God knows it. So I have trust in God. No matter what happens in my circumstances, I have to say, God, you know.
Well,
God, you know.
exactly. And it just goes back to, I know the beginning to the end.
Yes.
I am the author of salvation. I've always been there. I always will be there. All of this, and this is why I keep banging on about the fact that right from Genesis to Revelation, we have to see that right at the beginning there, the things he's talking about, like beneath the water with its creatures, we see
Yes.
the sort of big sea monsters that go into the waters.
Hmm.
These are talking about the preternatural creatures like
Right.
Peter and like the apostles that went out there as these big guns. Like we need to see that at the end of these are not just individual stories. They are part of a wonderful tapestry that God has woven into, like I keep saying, individual lives, couples' lives, married lives, families, tribes, nations. It's all woven in there, and it's all about His Son Christ.
Hmm.
He's the beginning and
Yes, it
he's
is.
the Aleph and the Tav. The Aleph is the power,
That's
and the
right.
Tav is the cross. He's the power of the cross, right there from the beginning to the
Absolutely.
end.
Absolutely. And I like how you put that because like the cross has a vertical beam, right? And it has a horizontal beam. But you think about the vertical beam. Remember when I said that Job looks up? Like he's sitting there and he's looking up like he's dealing with God. He's talking with God instead of dealing with this. But what's going on is that those men like Bildad and then they're operating up here on the upper side and they're saying even these aren't pure enough and even this will Job goes he goes down. He's going down below the earth. He's showing you that actually, let me show you how deep actually God goes. Watch this. So I want to give you guys like this interesting thing that happened to me yesterday. Okay. I'm not going to say names. It's a person that I know personally. And for whatever reason, she decided to confide in me some truths about her heart, about her relationship to her husband. It was like pastoral care, but I'm not her pastor, and this was just something that she said to me. She had expressed things about how she, for example, no longer loved her husband. First of all, it would be inappropriate in most cases, but I was just trying to be kind and I listened. She didn't love her husband. She had said, I've even tried to gain weight so he'd stop being interested in me. I've even stopped wearing makeup because I didn't want him to be attracted to me. And I'm sitting there and I'm listening to this and I'm thinking to myself, that's appalling. I mean,
Can I just ask one question? Is she a Christian?
yes. Let me
And her
finish.
husband, is he a Christian?
Yes.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
glad you said.
That's
Thanks for
interesting.
asking. I was going to say that. Okay. So here's what I discovered. And I thank this study of Job for helping me understand it. Okay. Because for whatever reason, as I was listening, I wasn't judging because I was trying to be a compassionate listener. Instead of looking at her and posturing like, well, that's unholiness, right? I decided to be compassionate. And so the question that I asked was this. I said, have you told the Lord this? Have you told the Lord the things that you just said to me? That I've decided not to wear makeup so I would be ugly so he wouldn't want me. I've decided to gain weight so that I would be unattractive and therefore he wouldn't want to be around me. I've decided that I'm not going to answer him sometimes to make him angry so that he will, because I want him to get rid of me. I said, what I'm seeing is that you're trying to get him to get rid of you so that you don't have to wear the guilt of a broken relationship and because it's marriage and because you feel strongly that, God is over marriage. Is that what's really going on? Yes. I said, do you understand that what you're doing is that you are actually, it's kind of like a form of gaslighting your husband. It's like he might say things like, I've noticed that you don't really keep up with your appearances like you used to. Are you trying to get rid of me? No, even though that would be true. Right. So I said, have you had this in prayer? Have you spoke to God about this? Have you asked the Father, Father, I've been doing this in order to have her answer was no, no, I would never speak to God that way. And I said, now I know that your relationship with him
Doesn't exist.
is wrong. It's
Yeah,
fate. What you have is an idea of
that's
what
right.
God is. You don't
Yeah.
know him. You don't know
No.
him. You need to go before him and you need to lay yourself out before you need to know him and he needs and he wants to know you. See that the only reason we were able to get there wasn't judgment, it was compassion. I suddenly saw where the relationship had broke down. She was kind of like a Zophar. She was kind of like a Bildad. She was a surface person that knew about God and was operating in that, but never really had this relationship where she could speak. Job would say, I know your ugliness. I see how far down you've went. You're willing to gaslight your husband. You're willing to do these things to him to break up the marriage because you have a guilty conscience, because you don't want to own it and break up the marriage and be responsible for that. So therefore you're acting this way. I see that. Did you know that God loves you and that he can repair that in you? Did you know that
Absolutely.
you can come up from the dust? Did you know that this marriage could be actually saved and be better than you ever imagined?
Mm.
But you're going to have to trust him. You have to get in with him and let him know who you truly are. And
Mm.
then that's when you know what forgiveness really is.
I know. And
This,
the
yeah,
sad
this
thing is,
study's
Rick,
helped me.
yeah, and the sad thing is, they can't have that much of a relationship with God because God knows what she's thinking even before she thinks it.
Of course. But see,
So I mean,
and that's
it's
what
not as
Job's
if
saying here.
exactly. It's not as if you're sort of like hiding it and thinking, well, it's a bit like the Pharisees behind closed doors. Oh, God can't see me. Hang on a minute. That shows you how little you know him because you think he can't see you.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah, I'm glad that you say it, but this is my point, Elaine. Watch. Our brain can say, I know God knows this about me. But there's a difference in him knowing it and you turning around and speaking it back to him.
There is, but then that still tells me that you haven't got an understanding, a depth of relationship.
That's
The
correct.
first thing I would say to God is, Lord, my relationship's failing. Help me to change it around. Help me to turn it around.
Right.
Showing me where I'm failing because
Hmm.
the fault lies with me or
Hmm.
my husband. And I would ask, as two Christians, that really we need that threefold call at Ecclesiastes that's not easily broken.
Right.
If God is not in your marriage, if
Uh-huh.
God not is the center of your marriage, so the husband's not looking to God, the wife's not looking to God, they're not playing their roles properly. I mean, it's a disaster.
But listen, this is you're hitting the nail on the head. That's what I'm trying to get here in
I
this
know you
study.
are. I'm agreeing with you
Yeah, yeah, I know
100%.
you are. I'm saying that her husband and she and her husband believe that they're Christians, believe they're in church, are being trained by their pastor, but they have an idea about God. They don't have a relationship.
Yeah,
And
well,
because they might have a surface one, but it's one way in their brain. But they're not, they know about God. They're like, God bless me today because of this. That's great. That's great. And I believe you. It's just like Bildad said, God is even brighter than the moon. Well, yes, good job. But can you look at him and say, I am doing this. This is what's coming from me. Create in me a clean heart, O God, because my heart is desperately wicked, and who can know it?
Exactly.
This
It's
is I
tainted
have
from the
to
start.
have a broken and a contrite spirit is how you come before God to let him do that for you, to bring you into the light, to bring you into that.
Exactly. And that shows you when you've got a good relationship. I mean, it's like when you're a parent, you see a child, you know they've done something, but you want them to come to you without you going to them. You
Yes.
want them to say, "Oh, mummy, I've done this." And you don't say to them, "Well, I knew you had." You just think to yourself, "Oh, bless, they actually trust me enough to know that they can come to me and say those things." And it warms the relationship. It
Hmm.
moves you internally. And this is what God wants. He must be so brokenhearted. I mean, if God can be, well, I suppose he can be brokenhearted, yes,
Hmm.
with the children. You just think to yourself, he's longing for us to share our thoughts and our feelings with him.
Hmm.
It's like I say, if you've got a problem with anything, someone in the church might have a problem with pornography. I know keep bringing up pornography because that's sort of like very, you look on your phone and see it and nobody will ever know. But it's
Right.
things like that you should be able to go to him. Not that you're ashamed, because that's what sin is. God wants to eradicate and change your spirit within you. So you don't want to feel that you need to look at that. So you need to go to him with that open heart. Not let's face it, God is not. There's nothing new under the sun, Rick. God is
No.
not shocked. I mean, if you put in the Bible, "Don't stand before a beast to have sex with it." I mean, you can't shock God, can you?
Right. Right. Not at all. I think that's the point here, right?
Yeah,
So Job is saying God knows everything. Look at the next verse. He stretches out the north over the void and hangs the earth on nothing. Now, a lot of us use
exactly.
that when we talk about, see, that's the spinning globe. That's not what he's talking about. What he's saying is that he knows the deepest depths. He knows Abaddon. He knows Rephaim. He knows chaos and darkness. And Sheol is naked before his eyes. And he stretches the north over the void. Like he hangs the earth on nothing. He is the total power. He
He's the
is the
package.
power.
He's everything.
But Jesus would say, you will see me and I will be at the right hand of the power. He says
That's right.
that. He
Yeah.
uses that term, right? Okay, sorry, I don't mean to get so excited, but I love the word of
I
God.
think we all get excited. I mean, that's how it should be.
Yeah, verse 8, he binds up the waters in his thick clouds, and the cloud is not split open under them. He's literally looking at his world. He's saying there's a cloud and it's going by and there's rain in it. It's heavy. Yes, I believe God brings the rain clouds. Yes, God has designed all of this. This is here. He's with us in the skies. He's over the
Absolutely.
stars and the moon and the sun. He hangs the earth on nothingness, but he knows the depths of Sheol. He does
Mm.
not, he cannot be stopped. He will go everywhere. He covers the face of the full moon and spreads over it his cloud. So he takes that cloud and he covers the face. This is from our perspective. It's God that's doing it. God veils the moon. He obscures what's bright and stable. Okay? Even the things that man thinks are fixed and luminous are still subject to God's hidden hand.
What verse are you on, Rick?
I think I'm on verse 9. He covers the face of the full moon.
My verse 9 says he shuts off the view of his throne by spreading his clouds across it.
Yeah, it's the moon in the ESV. How about that? Huh? How about that?
He shuts off the view of his throne.
Yeah, now watch this. Job 26:10. People use this, but listen. He has inscribed a circle on the face of the waters at the boundary between light and darkness. Now, many people will use this as a way to prove the globe. He inscribed a circle on the face of the waters. So there's the face of the waters and there's a circle on.
Well, it's not a globe is more of a ball, and
Yeah.
the Hebrews knew how to differentiate between a circle and a globe.
Look, it's really simple. I try to explain this. An earthbound creature. Okay, let me show you how this works. You see this little bottle that I've got here? Marchesa gave me this bottle. It's got this stress relieving calm oil. But as you can see, an earthbound creature spins like this. That's how a person can see his world: north, south, east, west. He spins in a circle. The horizon is a circle. On the waters, it's a circle. It doesn't change because this is what we do. We can't go all the way up and we can't go all the way down, but we can do this, right? So he's showing the waters above. Look, you can see it. You can see the circle. It's going all around you. You can go this way. You can see whatever you call it, the dome or the atmosphere or whatever it is. And then
Rakia.
verse 11, The pillars of heaven tremble and are astounded at his rebuke. So now we've got these pillars that are holding the heaven up. This is ancient cosmology, guys. He's defining the world based on their ancient cosmology. And it's he's saying that even those cosmic supports shake whenever God rebukes. Okay, God is all power. That's really what he's getting. By his power, he stilled the sea. Verse 12. By his understanding, he shattered Rahab. We talked about Rahab earlier in an earlier study, right? So Rahab, it's not Rahab from Jericho. It's the mythic imagery, symbolic of chaos, um, or cosmic opposition, proud cosmic opposition, a chaos monster figure, or a proud sea power. Even Egypt has been considered a historical embodiment of proud opposition to God. They would be a Rahab against the people. So he's using this language that these guys already know. This is the ancient language that these men understand. God's the
See,
one who
a
crushes the
lot of
great forces
a
of
lot of
chaos.
this takes me back to Genesis 1.
Of course it does. It's all
So,
over it.
so
Yeah.
much of it takes me back to Genesis 1.
Yes,
It
it's all
just,
over it.
I just read it and you just think, we'll have to do Genesis 1 again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, read verse 13 again in your complete Jewish Bible.
With his spirit, he spreads the heavens. His hand pierces the fleeing serpent.
Interesting. So in the ESV, it's by his wind the heavens were made fair. It's God's spirit, the wind, the spirit within the context. It's this divine breath. He's later going to say, Job's later going to say, with the breath, with this God-given breath inside of me. He's going to say that God breathed. He'll say that the way that Adam received the breath of life. He's going to use this later. God's breath beautifies the heavens. But his hand,
I like it where it says it in the King James. It says, "By His Spirit He hath garnished the heavens."
yes, that's
Oh, isn't that
beautiful.
lovely? It's very poetic
Yeah,
and beautiful. You can imagine it, can't you? Sort of garnishing, putting
right.
these sort of like touches. Lovely.
Yes, absolutely. The fleeing serpent. Okay, that's when I was like, okay, what's this all about? All right. It's within that category that we're going to hear of as Leviathan. We're going to hear about this character, this chaos serpent, okay? Now, Job's not endorsing like pagan mythology here. That's not what's going on. What he's really saying here, whatever this terrifying chaos serpent-like power is, God defeats it. What we also understand in chapter 1 and chapter 2 is that God rules it. He rules over it. God's going to tell him this later. He's going to get into it. But this serpent imagery, this chaos imagery, if you don't think of Genesis 3, I would be very surprised. I think of that seed of the woman that's going to have enmity against the serpent. There's always this cosmic struggle between the child of the woman and the serpent, right? This born of woman, this man, the son of man with the serpent chaos figure, this
And
flea.
I think it's interesting that with His Spirit He spreads the heavens, and it takes you to the New Covenant arrangement where you've got the sun, the moon, and the stars. And it
Yes.
says there, and His hand pierces the fleeing serpent. Well,
Yes.
again, it goes back to that, you will bruise him in the heel, but he'll crush you in the head.
Right.
It's sort of this cosmic language that's being used, but it's signifying something that is actually has life that
Mhm.
I'm going to destroy. I'm going to bring about an end to this serpent.
Yes. That's good. That's really good. I love it. Um, Now read verse 14 and then we're going to close the study for the day. Listen to this.
And these are but the fringes of his ways. How faint the echo we hear of him, but who is able to grasp the meaning of his thundering power?
That's powerful. Now listen to it in the ESV. It says, "Behold, these are but the outskirts of his ways, and how small a whisper do we hear of him? But the thunder of his power, who can understand it?" Okay? This is the payoff of the entire chapter, okay? After everything Job's just described, you've got Sheol, Abaddon, heavens, earth, clouds, moon, horizon, sea, Rahab, serpent. He says
Yep.
that's only the outskirts, guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the way he says just an echo. Just like It's an echo.
Yeah.
It's not the real thing, not the real deal. It's just
It's
the
not the
actual
center, it's
echo.
not the fullness, it's not the depth, it's just the echo. It's just the outskirts.
Yeah.
If
Yes.
that wasn't breathtaking to you, I don't know what will be. That I mean,
It,
that's powerful, right?
yeah. Who is able to grasp the meaning of his thundering power? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that
What
is
is it?
it.
Everything we know of God's power is still only a whisper.
Yeah.
It's just a
Yeah.
whisper. Do you remember when he has that moment with Elijah?
Well,
Remember
how
how
many
there's
you had quite a lot. What one you
yeah, but the
specifically
one about the
talking about?
whirlwind, but then he hears him on, and then he comes in a whisper. It
Yes.
made me think of that, right? I don't know why, but I just did. And I was like,
That's
even in the faintest whisper, those things, those gigantic, powerful things you just talk about, that's the outskirts of this. Like, this is, you don't understand the true power of God that you're talking about here, guys.
no,
I
no.
mean, whoa, whoa.
For me again, who is able to grasp the meaning of his thundering power? And I just think, going back to what we're saying about, about the woman and about the worm and the maggot, about
Uh-huh.
the Son of Man. It's saying that this is only an echo in his day, but it says who is able to grasp the meaning of his thundering power. And I think that we understand that thundering power in Christ.
Hmm.
He is that thundering power, you
Hmm.
know. And but back here, when it was all being spoken about, these were words. These were
Hmm.
things that they understood, that they didn't grasp the full sort of like magnitude of the whole thing. And
Hmm.
yet today we have everything in this word. And yet how much really do people delve and dig into it just to see their ancestry? Like I keep saying, their heritage. These people are my brothers and sisters.
Yes.
These are my family that I'm talking about. And this is how God has woven all these things, like Alan was saying, about these authors. I like to think of these ones that wrote the Bible as being secretaries because they came and went, but they were just secretaries. But the author is the boss,
Hmm.
and it's his
That's right.
words that the secretary writes down, but they're
That's
still his
good.
thoughts. The boss never changes, but the
Yes.
secretaries come and go, and it's the same story being written by the boss. And I just think that it's just sort of, and the more it's like a flower that's like that, and gradually over time, it starts to unfold until you see that the wonder of the whole focal point, the center, that moment in time that we were talking about yesterday when Christ said, "It is finished," and gave up the ghost. That's that moment. All
That's
about
right.
that. It
Hmm.
all came down to that.
Yes,
All
absolutely.
of
All
it.
right. So I'm going to ask everybody that's listening to really prepare your heart right now. I need you to prepare your heart because what you're getting ready to hear is going to be very difficult to hear and understand. But it's necessary. We've reached the place in the study where it's necessary now for me to share this. I've shared it in my testimony on the burrows, but I'm going to share it here in this study because this is one of the things that I had to learn by being a believer in Jesus Christ and dealing with the world and its good and evil. At the age of 5, I was viciously sexually abused by a 16-year-old boy, and this was over a period of months. And this was before I was a believer. This is when I was just a child in a home that didn't know God or care about God. And it was awful, and I still remember it. I still see it. I still have those memories, those flesh patterns that came in. Okay, that actually happened to me as a 5-year-old boy. Now, fast forward to salvation. Whenever I'm being presented with the gospel and I'm understanding that I have things that are evil inside of me, that I have lied, that I have stolen, that I have done things against God, and I recognize that in my spirit that I've done it, and I become a believer. And then I repent and I ask God for forgiveness, and He gives it to me. And He brings me into this covenant relationship with Him. I don't know everything about Him, but at that age, I was 10, and I hadn't really cognitively fully developed to even understand it.
Mm, mm.
And then as I began to grow and I began to read God's word, I began to learn more and more and more. And one of the things that I used to think before I got to know God was that God didn't have anything to do or know with the evil that had happened to me. God was the good guy and the bad guy was the one that was doing it to me. So it was a shock as I grew older and I matured to understand that nothing escapes God. Nothing escapes his sovereign power. He allows evil. He allows it. And there are
Yeah.
purposes behind it. Now, to look at it from the eyes of a 5-year-old boy, to think of me as a child going through that, you can only imagine how angry I got with God about that. That was reality for me. I was very angry. So you knew about this? You mean to tell me that with all of your power that you could have protected me, yet you didn't?
Mm.
See, these are the things that Job is thinking even in his own life. Okay.
Absolutely.
That's what Job's getting to. Whenever Job says, I have a right to stand before you now and plead my case because I have done nothing. Well,
Mm.
as a 5-year-old boy, what did I do to deserve
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
Do I have a right to stand before God and to ask those questions? Well, I don't have to. And the reason why I don't have to is because I have the Son of God who stands in my stead. Now,
Absolutely.
these things happen for a purpose. But what I discovered is that in my relationship to God is that I loved God. I love him. And because of that love, and because he is allowing me to understand him more, I'm beginning to understand reality more.
Yes.
This is not an
And
easy thing to
the
do.
reality, Rick, is the spirit.
Right.
That's the
That's
reality.
correct. That's correct. Now, if you fast forward to today, I'm 50 years old, 45 years removed from it. And yes, I've matured and I've had plenty of counseling from secular and Christian counselors. I've had plenty of reading and understanding. But what I've come to understand is that nothing escapes God's view,
No.
nothing escapes his
He
power
knew it before it happened, Rick.
long before it did. And I was angry with him for a long period of time, but I'm not anymore. I'm not anymore. But I also know that a lot of the things that I've been brought through, that I've gained wisdom, I've grown in it, and now I'm being able to speak to others in regard to who God actually is. This is the role of a priest. We have to be able to endure and understand. Sometimes people don't ever go through these kinds of things. And I don't know that they can actually counsel others perfectly, but I think that they do a good job. They try. But those who have been through it, a lot of times they can relate.
But this is
I,
why we have a great high priest,
that's
because he
correct.
has suffered. And
He
so
has
it's not that
suffered.
we can say, well, hang on a minute, Jesus, you didn't do any at all. So, I mean, how can you know? He says, I suffered. I
Hmm.
know. It
Yes.
may not be the same suffering as you, but I understand what suffering is. I understand what pain is. I understand what hurt is. I understand what rejection is.
Yes.
All of those
And
things
by
come
the
together.
way, very few things are spoken about Jesus's childhood.
No.
If he was tempted in every way or he was abused in every way, we don't know what those things were in his childhood. The Bible doesn't say it. But we do know that the world was full of good and evil when he was born into it. We know that he
100%.
had a purpose for it. We also know the way that his family was treated by others. We also know, what he was, went through as a person who was perfectly innocent. We know that, right?
And yet the
So,
thing is, once again, Rick, no matter what you did, like you said, forgive them, Father. They don't know what they're doing.
yes,
And that's it. Have we in our great compassion through these wicked, hideous, horrible things that we've gone through, like you have we understood what compassion? Can we actually say, forgive them, Lord, because they obviously didn't know what they were doing. They knew what they
right.
were doing physically,
Hmm.
but in the grand scheme of things, they didn't get what they were doing. And
Right.
you just pray that one day God wakes them up and they ask for forgiveness. Whether
Well,
it's of
and that,
you or of
yeah,
God. Like I think Alan's, like the Tracy said, when he said that he'd gone round and asked people for forgiveness. Some
yes,
people accepted it and some people didn't. And he said, well, I've learned to live with that. That's their
right.
choice. And I
That's
just
right.
think that that is the mark of somebody who really understands what forgiveness is, because he can even forgive those that don't even forgive him.
That's correct.
And it's
Absolutely,
beautiful.
100%.
Yeah.
The other side of the coin here that I wanted to bring up because this is tough. I just want you guys to understand. So, because I was 5 and because that happened to me,
Mm.
what happens psychologically and physiologically to a child is that it actually opens up their sexuality. And it
Yeah.
becomes for a child to then suddenly have these thoughts of this physical sexuality, lusts, things that start to appear, even though you're too young to really know, it starts to have an effect on the mind. And what's going on is
Absolutely.
what I've been describing is what the good and evil effect of our flesh is, the things that lust, this immorality that starts to bubble up inside you, that these are things that you begin to wrestle with and you don't even know where they're coming from, right? So in order to have a relationship with God, I was wondering, does he even know what it's like down here? Job just said that he does.
Mm,
Do you understand? Job
mm.
says God does know that area. He
He
does know
does.
how to get down below it because Christ actually got down below it and brought us up. But that's the point is that so if you here who are listening to me, you have things internally you're struggling with and you're wondering, does God really know? And of course he does, but really think about it in regard to yourself. How much does God know? He knows it all.
Mm,
And
mm.
he loves you and he comes to you even in that space because he knows that he can be there with you.
Mm.
Bring it out to him. Talk to him openly. Tell God the truth. Tell him the truth about what you're thinking and feeling and all of these things. He can, I promise you, he can handle it.
100%. And I think sometimes that we've got to just turn around and say, it's hard to actually even speak the words to God. You can think it in your head, but to
Yes.
actually turn to him and said, I did this, Lord. I behaved like that, Lord.
Right.
I did commit those atrocities to a 5-year-old child. I did sexually abuse that boy. I have looked at pornography, Lord, and
My
I still have a
goodness.
problem with that. It's shame and filth, and you think you can't even. It's a bit like that man that who stood there next to the Pharisee, and he couldn't even look up. He was like, "Oh my
Yes.
gosh, I cannot even bring myself to look you in the eye,
Mm-hmm.
simply because I'm just so filthy. I'm so filthy." But
Yes.
God knows that you are. And that's the point of Christ coming, because I can wash you clean. I
Mm-hmm.
know these things. You can come to me and say these things. You can feel
Yes.
guilty, but I will take that guilt away, because my brilliance, my pure light will wash it away from you. My blood does all of this. And this is the
Right.
thing. And I think that's what people need to know. They need to be settled with it in themselves and
Mm-hmm.
admit those things to themselves, because that's a hard thing to turn around and say those things to yourself. You know the concept.
That's
It's
right.
there. But to turn around and say, I was abused when I was 5, and that person did that to me, and face it on. It's
Yes.
eye to eye. And
Mm-hmm.
that, I think, is sometimes very hard for people to do. But do it. You may cry. You may feel shame. You may feel guilt. You may feel dirty. You may feel filthy. But at the end of the day, you know that Christ can just wash anything away from you. And he
Yes.
will
And
make you pure as the driven snow, like we were talking about the solar
yes.
worm. You will
Yes.
be washed in his blood, but you will be cleaned, and you will be as pure as the driven snow. These were things that happened to you. They are not you.
Right.
What
And
you
you know
are
what?
is a child of God.
Yes. And you just said something a minute ago. All right. So I'm going to take it a little bit deeper and then we're going to close. I'm going to leave you in this tension. I'm going to leave you in the tension with this, okay? So because that had happened to me and as I grew, eventually, yes, God got me to the point where I could forgive this person and I did, and I have. I've forgiven him. But I was always very concerned, that I would become like him because of all of these sexual twisted things that were going on in my mind that I was struggling with, okay? So I never crossed that line. I never did. I don't have pedophilia as a problem. It's not a problem for me because I was so appalled at the behavior towards me that it kept me from it. It didn't stop me from looking at women and looking at other things in my life. Like that definitely happened. But here's my point. I was able to forgive this abuser,
Mm.
but then I started thinking about other people who were abusers, like you said earlier, these other people who were abusers and the shame. I always remember Jesus saying, it's better that a millstone be put around the neck than somebody that offends one of these little children. Yeah, I have a tendency to agree with Jesus. Yeah, that's a big one. But even then, those people who do that, can they be forgiven? And the answer is yes, they can. But they've got to really be honest. They've got to be completely honest.
They
And they
have.
have to accept the consequences of their actions and then live in
Exactly.
it. Much like
And
I
that,
told that woman that was confessing to me, you've got to confess this before the Lord and you've got to be responsible
absolutely.
for your actions. So do I,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. And that's the thing, when you look back, God forgives everything, but sadly, there are always consequences. Like
Always
God forgave
consequences.
David, but he
Yes,
said, from now on, trouble will not depart from your house.
that's it. He had to live
And
with
that's
those
the thing,
consequences.
we live with the consequences, but God
Mhm.
is there even within the realms of the consequences that we got to live through. He's just a support. He's going to be compassionate and kind in those dark moments. And that's the thing. He doesn't take it all away. He supports you through it. So there's a learning process, and it's all about compassion. It's all about having this empathetic love that can reach out to people and say, I've been there. I've done that. I've experienced that. But you know what? There's a God in heaven that can really, we say these words, wash away and take away, but actually he does. The more you put it into effect, it just dissipates and disappears. It's like a mist. And all of a sudden it's
Yes.
clear. And you think, well,
Hmm.
where's that gone? Well, that person's
Right.
dead. Doesn't exist anymore. They've gone.
Yes.
I can remember those things happened to me in my teenage life. And I used to think, when I was about 30, 40, I used to look back and I used to cry until eventually I realized what I had to do was to go back to this little girl in her, early teens. And I had to go and cuddle her. And I went
Hmm.
back to me. And I
Yes.
said to me, do you know what, darling? you're okay. It's worked out really well.
Right.
You through what you've gone through, you can be a support to other people. This is an experience that you've had that's going to benefit so many people. And eventually that girl disappeared and she's now incorporated into me, and she doesn't exist. This sad girl that was broken, she doesn't exist.
That's
because
right.
now she
That's
can
great.
be a benefit.
Yeah, I did the same. I did the same. I had to go back to my 5-year-old self, and I had to tell myself, I had to talk,
And
I had to
cover
go back there.
yourself.
I had to protect him. I had to go back and protect him
Yes,
and show him
absolutely.
this is where you're heading. It's okay. So
Exactly,
to
Rick.
close
That's the
out,
thing.
and yeah, that's beautiful. To close out Job 26, I'm just going to read the first few verses in the ESV of 27 to let you know where we're going. So go ahead and read 27 again, because he's opening up his discourse. I told you.
Well, do you want me to read the whole lot?
No. I'm going to open it up myself in the ESV. You're going to read it next week. And I want you to understand that Job's going to bring what he considers to be true wisdom in chapter 28. So in chapter 27, verse 1, he says, and Job again took up his discourse and said, as God lives, who has taken away my right. That's interesting. And the Almighty, who has made my soul bitter. He's not letting God off the hook. As long as my breath is in me and the Spirit of God is in my nostrils, my lips will not speak falsehood, and my tongue will not utter deceit.
Oh, he just did.
But what?
He just did.
Far be it from me to say that you are right. In other words, now Job is focusing on the three friends. He's answering Eliphaz now. Whenever Eliphaz tries to tell him, you've done this, he falsely accuses. Now he's going to turn around and say, as long as I've got breath in my body, as long as the Spirit of God is in me, I will never tell you that you're right, because it's not true. I'm not going to make a false accusation even of myself just to make this better. I'm going to stand in the truth, and I'm going to face you down, and I'm going to bring this before God. I'm not going to stop. That's what Job's doing.
Yeah, but don't you find it? I just the irony there. It says, and God breath. It says, my lips will not speak unrighteousness, or my tongue utter deceit. Well, actually, you said, why is God denying me justice? And who deals with me so bitterly? Well, you just have.
Well, and the thing is, he has, but at the same time, he hasn't, because he hasn't gotten to the end to know it yet.
Exactly.
But he's spoken it, but he doesn't know it. Right. You're right.
It's just irony, isn't it?
Yes.
You deny me justice.
That's it.
Like it says there, my lips don't utter anything unrighteous. Well, you just did. You blamed it on God.
That's right. Interesting.
Well, I mean, it's
let's
just
leave
so
it there.
Wonderful.
It is. Let's leave it there. We ended on 27 a little bit. You see where we're heading. So guys, read 27 and 28. That's as far as we're going to get, if we even get through all of that next week. But we're going to go through Job's long series, these chapters where he's doing this response before the young man Elihu burns with anger and decides to speak up, right?
Yeah.
And he says some really amazing things. Yeah, he's the young buck. He's younger than Zophar, evidently.
Yeah.
He comes in ready to, and we didn't even know he was there. So how did that happen? We'll get into that in a little.
When did he come along?
Why did this young man show up out of nowhere? How did that happen? That's a very interesting thought, isn't it?
It is.
All right. Yeah. So let's leave that. All right. So guys, keep bringing your questions, comments. Thanks everybody for what you said so far. We really appreciate it. Thanks for hanging with us. Elaine, I hope you have a wonderful and marvelous day, and God bless you.
You too.
God bless you. Mwah.
God bless. And everybody out there, see you next week.
Yes. Y'all come back now. You hear?
Yeah, I do it better than you, and you're American.
Let's hear it.
Y'all come back now. You hear?
I mean, it rolls off your lips like molasses.
It does. It's right. It's right, sweet, and nice.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye, y'all. Ta-ta. Ta-ta for now.
A doff to the cap, my lady.
Doff the cap.
It's done.